So this was around September 1975 when Jayananda left. My heart was broken. I resigned as the temple president of what was then the Berkeley Temple. And I went and started a business called Balarama's Enterprises. And we had a little bit of incense business, and we started making jewelry, and we started selling jewelry. And 75, and it was a big change of life, of course, to go from being in the temple all the time to working outside, trying to become economically independent, deal with karmis and a straight business. It's a big change of life. And your mind's thinking, Krishna, what are you doing to me? This is not what I had planned.
Yes.
But anyway, at that time, then it became 1976, 77. The business is going on, and I was doing seva in the temple as the treasurer, and then the Sankirtan collectors would all say we collected $8,868 yesterday, and then I would count the money and there'd be $8,457. The temple president accused me of stealing the money, and it really was like I didn't anymore. I just said, all right, if you don't believe that I'm trustworthy, let somebody else do it. So I quit going to the temple about 6 months before Prabhupada expired. And I wasn't going to the temple, and I remember how I felt that not one person ever called me, came to see me, to say why you're not coming. It was very extreme pain that nobody cares about you. After you've spent from 1969, 70, 1969, 70, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 years of your life, 24 hours, 7 days a week, for this organization, giving your whole life, your blood, and not one person cares about you, whether you're alive or dead. So it was thinking about it. It's very painful, and I know I'm not the only one that's happened to. It's happened to almost everyone. And it's a horrible thing.
Very horrible.
So anyway, Prabhupada expired in 1977. For months we heard Prabhupada was sick, but we didn't know because we didn't have any direct news, and it became like the man calling wolf in a theater, or calling fire in a theater. You hear it over and over again. You can't take it. You don't know what's real. Anyway, Prabhupada finally expired. That was like, I remember just feeling numb, totally numb, and everything was lost. Then in 78, April. Hansaduda arrives. He's the new Acharya from ISKCON. Prabhupada has appointed 11 men as his chosen new Acharyas, and by Prabhupada's mercy, they have all become Mahabhagavatas. And this is what they told us. And Hansaduda what happened to me is he actually called me and says, I'm Hansaduda, I'd really like to meet you. Over and meet me. Nobody had called me after,
so long.
Yeah, so nobody cared. I was so happy that one leader
I understand.
Cared about me a little bit. And I went to see him, and he was charming. And he was the only it was interesting because I knew all the 11 I'd known from 1970, 70. I knew them all very well. But I'd never one time met Hansaduda and never spoken to him.
Because he was in Germany.
And I had never heard one good thing about him from anyone. From anyone. Jayatirtha despised him, Ramaswar despised him. They all, of course, they were all Jewish, right? Hansaduda was German. Which I didn't really know at that time, and I don't know if it's relevant or not. But Hansaduda didn't like them either.
Well, he was the hero in Germany.
Yeah. So what I liked about Hansaduda is he loved to cook, and he loved to sing and dance.
Well, his singing was ecstatic.
And when we would sing and dance, it was unbelievably ecstatic. And then rubbing bodies and the sweat of each other dripping on each other in the kirtan. It was, absolutely thrilling. And he was a wonderful cook.
Yeah. Carry on.
So I actually liked Hansaduda, and I felt, okay, if this is what Prabhupada wants, if Prabhupada has selected these people, I have faith in Prabhupada, so I'll help him.
Yeah.
And he said that we have to teach all the new disciples how to properly worship the spiritual master. That was one of our duties.
Yeah. Obviously.
So, who is it?
No, nine.
So anyway, I actually went with Hansaduda one time to New York, and we went up to visit his sister. That was quite an amazing thing. He was a different person when he was not in the spotlight. He became very relaxed and casual and fun. We got to his sister, he says, I want to fry some mushrooms.
Uh-oh.
I like fried mushrooms, but I can't do it in the temple.
Poison.
So, mushrooms are okay, but you don't offer them to the deities. But we went to the grocery store, he bought mushrooms. He brought them back to his sister's house and chopped them up. He was an expert cook. He was a cook in the American Navy, so he really knew how to cook. He liked cooking. His spice mix, Hansaduda's spice mix, became very famous. Anyway, this is where are we, 1978. So then Hansaduda one day says, why don't you become an airplane pilot? Something in my mind. Because when I was a boy, I used to dream of being an airplane pilot. It was like Krishna in my heart, fulfilling a desire. So I said, yes, Maharaj. So I went to airplane school. I learned how to fly. And the day I got my pilot's license, it was about 2 months, I went out and I was looking for planes, and I got to learn all about airplanes. I ended up buying a Piper Cherokee 6, which is called a PA 32300. It's a fixed gear. When you're a new pilot, if you have retractable gear, the insurance premium goes sky high. So I got a fixed gear, 300 horsepower. The interior was like a Rolls Royce. It could carry 6 adults comfortably with luggage. And didn't fly very fast, about 150 miles an hour. And Hansaduda wanted that so I could fly him around his zone, which went from Vancouver to Berkeley, Portland, Seattle, and his farm in Mendocino County, Northern California.
So, up until that point, you had become, since you left the temple presidency in San Francisco, Berkeley, you had become a successful businessman.
Yeah, I was building a business, going to work. I had my business was growing all the time. It wasn't a big business, small business.
Okay.
Maybe 3 or 4.
So that was the result of you being able to buy. How much was the plane?
Oh, the airplane cost $55,000 when I bought it.
Okay. New.
Used.
Used.
We paid some deposit, then we were paying a loan on it for so long. It's a great plane.
Low mileage?
I put about 1,000 hours, 1,200 hours flight time on it while I had it. And I used to fly Hansaduda around. And
What was your attitude towards him? Why were you doing this?
I believed he was Prabhupada's representative, and this is what Prabhupada wanted.
Okay, so he's doing valuable service.
Yeah, I want to serve Prabhupada. My life's here for
So that was a
Prabhupada.
good thing.
The thing is, few things happened. I remember one incident in 1978. Well, one incident, he wanted me to take sannyas.
Wanted you to take some.
Hansaduda wanted me to take sannyas from him. And I was a 28-year-old man with a small business that was growing. I had a 2-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. And
Not good.
their 29-year-old wife.
Not good.
And my wife flipped out, and she thought I'd gone mad, and she got me put in a mental hospital for a couple of days. Because
You weren't mad though.
I probably was crazy because it was also a change of Mahadases for me. At at the exact time he was coming, I was moving in from one major Mahadas to another. So it was a heavy time. You know, Prabhupada died, very emotional.
You were a little bit confused.
Yeah, and you know, in my heart, I always wanted to be.
So, did you take the sannyas?
No.
So that was over.
Yeah, but I remember being one time going with Hans, and we'd go up and chant jop in the hills above Berkeley. In the mornings in Berkeley, there was a low cloud. So we'd drive through the clouds, we'd be up on the mountaintop looking out on a sea of clouds. And I remember him telling me that Prabhupada has given me everything. Now soon it will be the Hansaduda airline. It will be the Hansaduda bank. It will be the Hansaduda shopping mall. It will be the Hansaduda highway. So I remember thinking, this guy is kind of weird. But this was the intoxication of becoming guru when you're not qualified. You know, you started believing yourself to be
Did he think he was someone special?
They all do. They think they're the chosen
What was the wording
ones.
that they used?
Huh?
What wording did they use to think they were special?
Well, in the end, one day he wanted me to fly my airplane under the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh dear.
And then he had all these guns, and he loved to go out shooting. He was a madman.
So he's not a Mahabhagavat.
And he put a cowboy boots on, and he'd go out with his guns, and he could shoot for 3 or 4 hours. And hundreds of thousands of
Lost
bullets.
his plot.
And later on, he did more crazy things. But I mean, even he would bring Porsches and Mercedes in from Germany, because he'd been in Germany and he loved those German cars. So we had the whole parking lot full of all these imported. He loved to go out on the highway with a Porsche and drive as fast as he could go and shoot guns out the window.
So what did you think about all this? He was a specially chosen person.
Well, he told us he was the chosen one. I mean, they all Ramaswar told me he was the chosen one. Jai Tirtha was the chosen one. Bhagavan told me he was the only representative of Lord Chaitanya. So, or his followers did. So they were all not. Bhavananda in 1978 came to Berkeley for the Rath Yatra. And this blew me away because a brahmachari said, Maharaj, where's your danda? And Bhavananda said, I am a Paramahansa. I don't need a danda anymore. So that was mind-blowing. That was 19...
You became disillusioned. You must have been disillusioned. Or did you believe it?
I don't remember thinking about it very much. You know, we just believed in Prabhupada, and for, you know, our whole career, we've been trained that these GBC, they were Prabhupada's representatives to us. So we had faith in them. So it took time to destroy that faith.
Yes.
So, I mean, I tried to be, I guess, faithful until after the San Francisco Bridge, the Bay Bridge, the flying under the Bay Bridge thing where I wouldn't do it. Then the next thing, I flew some lawyers from Hansaduda from Santa Cruz, California, to his Mendocino County, which is about probably an hour and a half or 2 hour airplane flight, about 5 hours by car. So one day the plane was full, I was going to fly them back to Santa Cruz. Hansaduda had sent some new recruits. He wanted me to fly them. So,
but what was the problem?
Well, planes you can fly a plane based on weight limits. Every plane has a weight and balance. So a pilot has to know the weight that you're carrying.
Of course.
Especially related to the runway you're going to land on. So the Santa Cruz Airport had a very, very short runway, and to hit the landing spot on the runway, you had to come right, almost touching treetops, coming down a mountain. It was a very steep, quick decline. It was a tricky landing, you could say. And I had trouble landing there before, and I had to make go-arounds. I landed too fast, and I had to go around and come and land again. So with with a lot of weight in the plane, it's harder to land, like anything with a lot of weight. And Hans Duda wanted me to bring these two big men and put them in the plane that was already full. And I wouldn't do it. And when I got home, he called me and he said, "Why you didn't bring these men?" And I tried to explain to him that the airplane was full.
Yes.
And he went ballistically angry. He started ranting and screaming at me, "I don't believe you. You're not surrendered. You're not surrendered. You're not surrendered. I don't believe you." And I said, "Maharaj, I'm a pilot. I have to keep people safe. I don't believe you. You're lying to me." And then I realized this man's totally mad. So then I quit giving him money. I was giving him at that time half my money every month. I think it was $2,000 a month. So I quit giving him money and I quit talking to him. I was still going to Mangal Artik every morning, chatting my rounds. So apparently he told his intimate associates that I was smuggling drugs on my airplane. I was not cutting him in for 50%. So then one morning they broke into my car and they stole my attaché case, which had my ID, my checkbook, and my credit cards. And they went out in 3 days and purchased about $45,000 or $50,000 worth of guns, knives, horse saddles, and black and white floor tiles. And then the devotees denied that they knew anything about it. They said it wasn't them. First it was stolen, then I canceled everything. Of course you call the banks, you call the gutter, you cancel everything. But whoever stole it went out to buy all these things. There was a gun show. They went to a gun show and bought all these guns. And they went to a floor tile place, bought the floor tiles. And then about 5 days later, the police come charging into my business. And they wanted to arrest me for writing bad checks and canceling cards. And I explained to the police that I'd been robbed. And then they started this big investigation, what happened. And I knew it was the devotees, but in my mind, my heart, I didn't want to admit it to myself. Because these were the people I loved that I'd given my life to. How could they rob me?
You felt betrayed.
Yeah, heavily betrayed. I felt heavily betrayed. How could it happen? But then on the Gaur Purnima, 1980, I decided to go up to their ranch because all the devotees from the ranch were going to come to Berkeley. So I knew no one would be there at the ranch and I could snoop around and see if the things that were bought at the gun show were there. And so I went with one German devotee named Heitu. And we went up there, nobody was there, and we snuck around. We found all the things that had been bought with my stolen checkbook and credit cards. Then I couldn't deny anymore. I knew beyond doubt that it was the devotees that had done it.
Not the general devotees, but his gangsters.
Yeah, I didn't know which one specifically, but
yeah.
I knew it was the devotees.
Yeah.
And so I was devastated. My head's spinning.
Yes.
And I come back.
Understand that.
I come back to my home. I didn't know what to do. Should I call the GBC? Should I call the police? You don't know what to do. You're just like, your mind's going like this.
So what happened in the end?
And as I came home and I told my wife what I'd found.
What was your wife's
name? Saranam.
At that time, yes.
Saranam Dasi. And so that just so happened that the police that was investigating this case, Officer Joe Sanchez, called my house. My wife had a nature, she liked to talk. Without talking to me, she blurted out everything that I found up in this farm. So then the police, police are like hungry dogs. When they see a chance to attack, so they got the sheriffs of Mendocino County, the police of Berkeley, and they went and raided Hansaduda's ranch. And when they were being raided, Hansaduda and the other people involved went to the San Francisco airport, got on a plane. They flew off to the Philippines. And some of them stayed as long as 10 years before they went back to the U.S.
End of chapter.
Okay, so
To continue.
after this robbery of my stuff and the raid, and Hansaduda and all the people involved flew off to East Asia, Philippines, maybe Sri Lanka, because those were also Hansaduda zones. And what happened, obviously the Berkeley Temple went into chaos because the head was, Hansaduda was the guru, he was the head, and the other men. And we had a huge women's party, like 36 women that were collecting several $100,000 a month. And they were working, Hansaduda had given Jiva, who had been their leader, sannyas, and shipped him away. So they were working directly under Hansaduda. And so everything was, and that, of course, that money, a lot of that money was going to the BBT every month. So anyway, Ramaswar, Hridayananda, and Satsarupa came up to Berkeley to try and restore order and calm things down. So they called me in to see them. And Satsarup, the first thing he said, Bhakta Das, we are in a battle. In every battle, some people have to die. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to leave this movement now and die.
Why?
And I said, thank you, Maharaj. That's what I get for giving 11 years of my life to this movement.
It doesn't sound right to me.
So all I can understand why Ramaswar and Hridayananda sat there, but Satsarup was the spokesman, he's the most senior. And I don't know what they're thinking, but all of them were Paramahansas and Mahabhagavatas in 1980. And they were obviously protecting Hansaduda because this was a conspiracy that went back to 1978. They were a gang of 11 and they had to protect each other because the whole thing was a lie. That's the fact of the matter. And when I realized Hansaduda is completely off the wall. But rather than admit that they were off the wall, they were Mahabhagavats. How can a Mahabhagavat get off the wall? Right?
That's right.
Yeah. So it was a very crazy time. It was very extremely painful for me.
Yeah.
It was psychologically, emotionally, mentally, absolutely devastating because your whole life has been based and centered on this.
So how did you get through all this?
You know, I withdrew. I didn't go anymore. I didn't want any connection to ISKCON. I never stopped chanting in my life. Never stopped wearing my beads or my Gayatri thread.
You remained devoted.
I've never for one moment in my life lost faith in Prabhupada or Krishna, but I lost faith in the institution, the integrity of it. And so I was going on, and later I realized that it was really a great blessing because I became financially, economically independent. And my business grew, and gradually as my godbrothers were kicked out of the movement, I was able to give jobs to many of them, good jobs, high-paying jobs.
Very good.
And we bought 200 acres of land in Badger, California, and we had dreams of a Vaishnava community there, which now is a Vaishnava community. It took it longer than I thought it would. But I've realized to be independent is that if you're dependent on anyone or under someone, you have to be obedient.
Yes.
And you lose your freedom of mind, freedom of intelligence.
Yes.
And if you have your own financial independence, then no one can control you.
Exactly.
I mean, you can see that today. The governments are all trying to take our money away.
That's right.
Because if we have our own money, then they can't control us.
Exactly.
ISKCON's a microcosm of that in many ways.
So tell us a little bit about more how things progress with you now. You've got your business running.
Okay, so this was 1980. So my business is going on. In 1981, Ramaswar sold his Spiritual Sky business, the main mother company of Spiritual Sky, to me because the company might have gone bankrupt.
Yes.
So I paid $250,000.
Because they were becoming bankrupt.
Yeah, they weren't sure, but there were some cases in court.
If
they lost the cases, they were bankrupt.
Understand.
They didn't know what the result would be. So he sold it, and I didn't pay it all at once. It was over a couple of years. But he used that money for school in Three Rivers, California.
Okay.
Land and school. So that was good.
You're still connected.
I'm still connected to devotees, and I had so many devotees working with me.
Great.
Rishabh Dev, Hasya Priya, Madhu Visa, Deva Datta, Vidyananda, James Ordona's, what's his name? Anyway, many.
So many.
I tried to give devotees jobs because I wanted to keep us together, but we were all young, we were all immature, most of them were newly married with kids, some, everyone was going through changes of life, and I would go to Kartik in Vrindavan, and I'd stop in Thailand on the way back.
Now you had an episode in your life where you continually go to Kartik every year.
Oh yeah, that started in 1981. I started going to Kartik every year.
Alone or with group?
I went alone.
Oh, okay, alone.
Yeah.
So that was a regular episode for 10 years.
First time I think it was 1980 or 81, I don't remember. But I was in ecstasy in Vrindavan. I loved it. I would stay in the Krishna Balaram guest house. I remember going to Mangal Arti on Prabhupada's Disappearance Day. In those days, everybody would be there, all the gurus. And I remember looking at their faces. Nobody was in ecstasy. It was weird.
Oh, dear.
I was in ecstasy in Vrindavan. I just felt ecstasy.
Sure.
And I remember being with Dhanvantari and Dasarat Sutta, a few others who were there. We were in bliss, we were joyful.
So I'd like to ask you a question. So after this 10-year episode of becoming successful with your business and whatever you were doing was totally legal in spite of so many rumors, and then it...
Oh! Okay, okay, my business was in the beginning just selling incense. And most of the incense sellers sold drug paraphernalia. That means papers, pipes, bongs, spoons, screens, all sorts of things for smoking and consuming, hashish, whatever. Anyway,
only the paraphernalia.
Because my customers all sold this, one day I was in Redding, California, at a place called International Imports, owned by an Indian, of course. The manager was a girl named Kathy. And I'd driven about 400 miles to get to this store, and I got an order for $300 worth of incense. And there was a guy there, he was selling paraphernalia, and he had $10,000 order. So I asked Kathy, if I was selling these things, would you give me some of that business? And she said, definitely, sure, I'll be happy to. I didn't know anything about this business, and I went back and I got a High Times magazine, and there's advertisements for different people, companies. I called them all up. I think I called every company in the magazine because I didn't know anything about drug paraphernalia. I said, just send me $2,000 of all your best-selling products. Most of the companies, they have a wholesale price and they have a distributor price. The distributor price would be 40 or 50% below the wholesale price, and then I'd sell it.
So
wholesale.
all these paraphernalias were totally legitimate and legal?
Yeah, of course. So all legitimate.
You weren't doing anything illicit?
No, of course not.
Fine.
No, of course not. And
just move along.
So anyway, over time, the paraphernalia stores, sometimes they'll ask you, could you get me this, can you get me the different products? So
related?
Yeah, so they started asking for different chemicals. They started asking for manit. Manit is made from the manna tree of Sicily. It's the sap of a tree. It's a white sugar, and cocaine dealers would use it to dilute cocaine. But it's used in Europe, it's sold in every store as a baby laxative for infants. It was completely legal. So I went to Italy and I met this manufacturer and I started importing that. We went to China and we started importing inositol. Then we found a chemical directory, we're buying different drugs, and we're selling all these things for many years. And then after I started doing that probably 1978, 79.
Went till?
2000. So at least over 20 years.
Then what happened?
Then the FBI indicted me in Baltimore and said I'm running a drug empire. And because I've sold like 3,000 tons of these white powders, I'm responsible for $8 trillion of illegal drugs.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
This is what they charged me with. My lawyer said they charge people, they throw a bucket of paint at the wall to scare you and get you to plead guilty to something. This is their strategy. They scare you to death. They do scare you to death.
So what did you do? Defend
yourself?
yourself?
When they indicted me, I was in Thailand. I wasn't even running my business. I was in Thailand working, making incense. I was scared. My lawyer read the charges to me. My father had been a lawyer, so he advised me, don't come back here. Stay away as long as you can. And so then I was really scared because I'm in Thailand, and Thailand and the USA are very close. If the American government had asked the Thai government to arrest me, I probably would have been shipped to America in a week. So I went to India, and I went to Mayapur for Guru Purnima in the year 2000, and I decided I'm going to go to Puri, and I'm going to stay under the shelter of Lord Jagannath. Okay, so I was scared of the American government, and I was very Krishna conscious. I had come in contact with Prabhupada's godbrother, Bhaktivai Baba Puri Maharaj, and I forgot to K2 Mahadasa. Back in 1984, this Jyotish in Mathura had told me when I come to K2, I'm going to have unlimited problems from governments. And then when I was indicted in 2000 by a federal grand jury in Baltimore, accused of being a big mafia kingpin, I asked Petit Pavana to do my horoscope. And he said, all the planets are trying to kill you this year except for Jupiter. And I said, should I go to Puri? Yes, that's good. So I packed up my wife and my children, and we moved to Jagannath Puri. I thought, right, if anything bad's going to happen, let it happen under Lord Jagannath's shelter. Because somehow I have affinity for Lord Jagannath. And I was there May, June, July. Then in August 21st, 2000, somehow the police in Puri arrested me. They, along with one Italian boy, they threw me in the Jagannath jail. We didn't know what they were throwing us in jail for.
You were not charged with any crime?
No, we weren't charged with a crime until more than a year later.
Oh.
They kept us in jail without bail, under investigation for more than a year. But what's coincidental is that the Turley case in America had come out with the Gurukul and children suing
Same time.
ISKCON, and it had come out just a few days before I was arrested.
Is there any...
And it was in the headlines of all the papers of Orissa. So everyone was aware, and they were thinking all the Hare Krishnas were fake, and they were sex fiends and were criminals, and so we didn't have a good reputation. So somehow the police had an idea that we were really bad people, and they wanted to investigate us and find something. They used the pretense of a crazy woman from Austria who had a love affair in Puri and had a 5-year-old daughter, and she had a love affair with her, breakup with her boyfriend. She went to the police and said her boyfriend and another Maya Pratundra had raped her baby, but the doctor report said the baby hadn't been raped. So there was nothing in the case at all.
Who is she, and where did she come from?
This woman was named Maria Shmadova. She was born in Slovakia. She was married to a devotee named Krishna Das, who was a disciple of Bhaktivai Baba Puri Maharaj, but he had divorced her at that time.
She had nothing to do with anybody, really.
No, she was a lunatic. I mean, after we were arrested, she went to Austria. The day after I was arrested, she went to the airport and flew off. So
Yet you have been accused of something.
I've been accused of an abominable, heinous offense, right?
So it was obvious it was a setup.
Oh, totally. Well, a week after I was arrested, the police said, if you give us $100,000, we'll let you out. Now, I was furious. In hindsight, if they were real, I should have given them the money because I suffered a lot. But I was furious. When you're accused of something you haven't done, you're furious.
In the end, for the viewers, how long did it take you to be incarcerated and to get through all the torment?
6 years.
That's a long time.
And 2 weeks.
In India.
5 years in India and 1 year in America.
And you were jostled around in various...
Oh, I saw a lot of pretty places.
You actually weren't incarcerated in shackles and irons in the hard
The
way.
only time I was in shackles and irons was briefly in the United States, but I was arrested in Puri. I was put in, the Puri jail was built at the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur being the chief magistrate of Puri. And it was built in the 1870s, time Bhaktisiddhanta was born. It was designed for 120 prisoners. When I went in there were 600 prisoners.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
There's no running water. You take a bath outside with a hand pump well.
Sure.
You're basically like a lion in a cage in a zoo. You're an open bar zoo. There were no fans allowed in the jail. And
If you'd been a poor man, it would have been terrible ordeal for 5-6 years.
well, you know, a couple of things went nice. I was there 2 months, and because the court allowed me to get food from home, I never had to eat the jail food. My wife would bring me food twice a day, or the moth would bring me food, the devotees. And
Had you got a visit from anybody credible, or anybody that was favourable to you? Visits?
well, interesting, the first day I was in jail, like 30 people came to the visiting day.
Oh.
And then the police followed them all home. They threatened them that if you help him, we're going to put you in jail.
Oh, that doesn't
So
sound...
the second day, there was like, the second visiting day, there was maybe 10. The third visiting day, there was about 3. And later, it's only my wife.
During this 5-6 year ordeal, I understand you mentioned to me earlier on that there was one devotee in America, god-brother of ours, Kula Shekhar. Could you tell us a little about his connection with you?
When I was in Puri jail, after 2 months, my son came and my father came, and they worked with the chief medical officer of Puri, and they got me out of the jail during lunch hour when the superintendent of the jail wasn't there. They said I have a heart condition, a severe heart condition, I might die.
Yes.
So they got me into the hospital, and I spent a week in a bed, laying chained to the bed with a policeman with a rifle. Then we got a court order to give me a private room, and they gave me a room, and I stayed there for about 6 weeks. And then the doctor said, I can't keep you here. I either have to tell them you're too sick, you have to go to another hospital, or you can go back to jail. So I told them, sir, please tell the court I'm too sick. So the court gave a very nice order. He said, I'm a foreigner, I have a bad heart condition, I can go to any hospital I want to, private or public. So we went to a Kalinga hospital in Bhubaneswar. And when I got to Kalinga Hospital, the heart doctor named Mahendra Tripathi, head of cardiology, he admitted me. And he looked at my file, he said, I'll let you stay 1 night, and if I don't find anything wrong with you, I'm sending you back to the jail tomorrow. But by the next day, something in his heart had melted, and he said, I'll protect you. So he kept me there for 6 months in a private room. And from this, I was able to use the internet.
Ah, I see.
Okay, this is you want me to talk about Kula Shekhar?
Yes.
You know, when I was in Puri jail, I had no internet, no computer, anything. No, there wasn't Wi-Fi then, right? Maybe there wasn't Wi-Fi. It was you had a cable, you have a landline, yeah, through a phone. So when I got in Kalinga Hospital, I was able to get my laptop computer. My wife was able to bring it to me, and I would go down to the hospital shop where there was a computer connection, and I was and he was a very soft-hearted, loving, gentle person, and he was very saddened what had happened to me. He set up a website telling about the whole case.
Does that website still exist?
Huh?
That website still exists?
I have no idea.
What was it called? Can't remember.
You probably can find it, something Bhakta Das Memories,
Okay.
something about that. And there was a lot of also, there was a Vaishnava.
So what, did he reveal the actual truth of the matter?
He told everything. And he had to raise funds to help me, so some people were contributing money, which was really nice. Some of my customers from America and Canada contributed a lot of money to help me.
They knew you were innocent.
Yeah, one guy in Berkeley contributed a tremendous amount of money to help me. A lot of people were helping from around the world. My mother was helping. My mother was the best. No one like a mother.
Of course. And in the end,
Yeah.
the time that you spent actually was subtracted from the...
I'd like to say one thing.
Yes.
Because people think it's a horrible thing that happens. But when you've had a lot of money, you've had your own airplane, I remember walking through shopping malls and thinking I could buy anything in this mall. There wasn't one thing that I couldn't afford to buy. You know, I was very free when you compare to most people in this world. I didn't report to anyone. If I wanted to fly anywhere, either on a commercial plane or my own, you could just do it. And all of a sudden that was taken all away. I'm thrown in this jail that was 150 years old or something, and no communication. It's quite an experience.
Of course.
You know, in the beginning I was emotionally, mentally, you'd say I had an emotional breakdown. But over time, I was always chanting. I remember in the jail at least 32 rounds a day, and doing yoga and reading Bhagavad. In that respect, and there's Tulsi in the jail, in Indian jails, there's Radha Krishna, there's Hanuman, there's always bells and artis going on. You don't find that in America.
No.
And plus, I'm in Jagannath Puri. I'm being tied up by Lord Jagannath a few hundred yards from his temple.
But you weren't always in Puri, sometimes in Qatar.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I'm there. I wasn't when I was in Cuttack. I would obviously come to court in Puri. And
Yes.
my police were amazing. My police guards, they would all go home to their village. They would only come on payday to get their money or to take me to court. The rest of the time I never saw them. And I could have escaped. I was thinking about escaping. And I actually went so far to get one devotee in Thailand sent me 2 passports, one in New Zealand and one UK. So I had 2 passports. And I went and I dyed my hair black, and I got pictures, I put them in the passport, and I was thinking, I was getting all these books, how to escape and change your identity, and then Bhakti Vichar Vishnu Maharaj told me, if you do this, everyone will think you're guilty. You'll never be able to show your face again anywhere.
That's right.
So then I said, he said, just surrender. This is time. When time passes, you'll come out automatically.
Vishnu Maharaj.
Yeah. So Vishnu Maharaj is a saint.
He visited you.
Yeah, always. He's my best friend.
Could you tell me a little bit about? Can you tell me a little bit about Vishnu Maharaj, please, for the people viewers?
Vishnu Maharaj, I met him the same day I met Prabhupada's godbrother, Bhakti Vaibhava Puri Maharaj. And due to meeting Bhakti Vaibhava Puri Maharaj in Kartik '92, that was the beginning of coming out of being sunk in the deepest, darkest wells of Maya, because from 1980, when Hansa Duda thing happened, until 1992, my spiritual life was 1 month Kartik. The rest of the year I was just gone, you could say. I was smoking cigarette, maybe drinking alcohol or smoking ganja, I don't know. But I wasn't even trying to be a devotee in any way.
You'd been scarred from...
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any association. Without association,
Very difficult.
there's no Krishna consciousness. There's no Krishna consciousness. You can try for what, there's no taste. All the ruchi comes by association of Sadhu Sangha.
Tell us more about
So
Vishnu
that's,
Maharaj.
anyway, so I met Puri Maharaj, and Puri Maharaj, when I met him, he spoke to me, in my heart it was like Prabhupada speaking to me through the mouth of his godbrother. And I just became alive again. And those years after I met him were spiritually the best of my whole life.
Very nice.
I've never been so determined and so fixed in devotional service.
Very nice.
And I had a beautiful wife. My wife was 19. And I didn't have sex for years. Imagine, and I never imagined you could sleep next to a beautiful woman and not have sex. And my wife was so good. She was, she didn't want to have. She's all right, no problem. She can live without sex. So it was very special. It doesn't happen often. But the day I met Puri Maharaj, I met Vishnu Maharaj. He was one of the first 3 disciples of Puri Maharaj.
Where was that?
In Seva Kunj in Vrindavan, at the Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mission, Radha Vrindavan Chandra Temple. And the moment I met Vishnu Maharaj, something in my heart told me he is a future Acharya. I could feel my hair would stand on end, and I felt that. And there's been an affinity with us from that time. That was 92. So in 1993, Puri Maharaj was given land in Mayapur next to ISKCON. And I was sitting there, and Maharaj didn't have money to build a temple. He said, my last desire, I have a temple in Vrindavan, I have a temple in Puri, I want one temple in Mayapur. So I told Maharaj, if Mahaprabhu gives me money, I'll build a temple there for you. I didn't have the money then, but almost instantly my little business went up by 400%. And for the next couple of years I was able to give money to build this temple.
Tell us about the temple.
Huh?
That's with the 2 lions up front.
Yes, yeah.
What's it called?
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mission, Sri Sri Radha Rasa Vihar.
Directly next to ISKCON Namahata.
Right next to the ISKCON Namahata building.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, we got the inspiration to build the temple at a high elevation because we know the Ganga floods.
Yes.
So we were the first temple to build up high. So when there's been floods, the lower rooms, which were guest rooms, can get flooded.
So how much did you finance?
Huh?
How much did you finance the project for?
I think the total was around between $175,000 and $200,000.
Which was a lot in those days.
1994, 1995.
Yeah.
And Vishnu Maharaj camped out on this land with a hand pump well, living in a mosquito net, and he would go to the market, he bought the bricks, he bought the steel, he bought the cement, he hired the men, he made the plan, designed for the temple, and he supervised the whole construction by himself.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, really amazing.
So,
And we got the idea to make a beautiful gate in the front with the all these Das avatars on the front of the gate.
Yes.
And then on top of the gate we have little rooms for sadhus to live. I got that idea from Vrindavan because the Jagannath temple in Vrindavan, when you go through it, there's a gate. And one great saint I knew, Moni Maharaj, he used to live above that. So when we built that, we copied that. But now all the temples in Mayapur do what we did. We were the first ones.
very good. So this will progress while you were in jail, even more. The project.
Well, you know, while I was a prisoner at Orissa, Vishnu Maharaj spent 1 year trying to get me out on bail. Now, it's ridiculous when you're charged with you're not charged with a crime and they're holding you, right? I mean, it's absurd actually when you think of it. You haven't been charged with any crime, but you're being held in jail. So they held us from August 21st until I think June 2001 without filing any charge. Then they filed a ridiculous charge and they put all these witness names.
Nobody came to it.
You know, it's a big story, but all the witnesses, and they said, do you know this man? Do you know the person who charged this? You know, no. Everybody was no, okay, dismissed. And you found out the police were stopping people in the street making them sign a blank piece of white paper, and the police are composing a witness statement. I filed a case against the police for false arrest and false imprisonment. But of course, you can't fight the government.
Were you eventually let off of the charge that you were?
Yeah, well, I mean, here in Puri, this was interesting. In Puri on January 29th, 2006,
Yes.
the judge said case not guilty from 42 witnesses. There's not one single word of evidence against the accused.
Amazing. Then what happened?
Then I was still officially in jail.
Why?
Well, because I had been living in a hospital all these years, going to court, so I had to go to jail and sign out. So I go over to the jail, and I discharge from the jail. And when I walk out of the jail, there's a whole bunch of police there, with big stars. They were from the CBI, Crime Branch of India, Central Bureau of Investigation, and they arrest me, and they take me to court again.
It's like a rerun.
It's for the Americans.
Ah.
Yeah. So then they remanded me to the Puri jail, and my lawyers said, "Don't worry. Under this law, the central government has 60 days. They have to act within 60 days, or you go free automatically." By all these years, I'm detached. I don't really care what happens. I'm saying, all right, whatever Krishna wants. I'm living. It was winter too, January. It wasn't hot in the jail. I was bedded next to the liquor mafia king of Orissa.
Oh my God.
He was a very famous guy. You meet a lot of interesting people in jail.
Of course.
Really fascinating people.
So they had 60 days.
60 days to act upon that you've been arrested. The Americans have requested your extradition, right? So you're being held in Puri. So they have 60 days to do something. So I'm sitting there, 58 days go by. And I'm thinking, and my lawyer kept saying, they're so untogether, this government is so untogether, you'll come out. So 58 days, that night, superintendent of the jail has somebody come and take me out of my cage and bring me to it. And he shows me I have a warrant from the court in Delhi. The police are coming to take you to Delhi now. That was, then I went on a 39-hour ride to Delhi without a toothpaste, without a bar of soap, without any clothes, and I was chained to the seat of the train, not air conditioned. And my friend from the jail, Kalu, who had helped get bail, he came with me with the police. And then I went to Patiala House Court, and I sat all day in the court outside with the police, and then the judge calls my number, and then he says, you're remanded to Tihar prison. So I get to Tihar prison like 7 in the evening.
But you still got the 60 days is ticking.
No, because it's over. That's why they got me to that court.
Oh.
On the 60th day.
On the 60th day.
See how devious they are? They torture me, and then on the last day they bring me.
So they had passed the extradition.
They brought me to the extradition court. They had 60 days to do that.
Yeah.
And
you got there.
So then when you go to the extradition court, the court says, do you want to fight the extradition or do you surrender to the Americans? You have a choice. I could waive extradition and surrender. No, when we first got to court, we told the judge, Your Honor, you can't extradite me because I have 2 cases pending in Orissa. We had manufactured one case with the police because under the law of extradition, nobody can be extradited as long as another case is pending in India.
I understand.
They have to settle all the cases here before they can send you to a case in America.
Okay.
So my lawyer in America told me the longer you can stay, it's better for you. So our hope had always been get bail here, get out on bail and extend it. So that's what we tried to do for years, but it didn't work. Anyway, I told the court I have these cases in Orissa, and the government lawyer in He said, these are fake cases, Your Honor. He doesn't want to go to America. He made these cases. They're not real. Can you imagine? We have the documents from the court. These are real cases. But he's saying, no, they're fake cases.
So then
I go to Tihar jail. Then I'm going once a week to court. Sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a week. See, nothing would ever happen. I mean, you can't imagine how slow an Indian court is. The judge sees maybe 100 cases a day. You get 1 minute or 2 minutes out of a day for your case. So it was like nothing else. Just to get a phone call permission, we'd go to court 3 times to get a court order telling the superintendent of jail to let me call my lawyer in America. But then the superintendent of jail wouldn't do it, and I'd have to file a petition with the court again ordering this, and then he still wouldn't do it. So this is India. I wrote to my lawyer in America. I was there, I got to Tihar jail April of 2006, 2004. Yeah, 2004. So, I've been January 29, 2004, the case ended in Puri. I got put in Puri jail. So, yeah, like March 28th, put on a train to Delhi, around the 1st of April, put into a...
So finally the marshals come, huh?
Well, that's later, a couple of years later. I mean, 18 months later, the U.S. I ended up, I wrote to my lawyer in America and I said, can you make a plea bargain? When he went and met the U.S. attorney, he wrote me back and he said they've agreed to drop all the drug charges if you plead guilty to 1 count of selling drug paraphernalia. So I wrote it back and I said, that's fine. He said, the sentence is 3 years, but you've already done 2 years in India, so you have 1 year to do here.
But you've done more in India. Why 2 years? You've done more than 2 years.
Well, not for the American case.
Oh, I see.
The American case started when I was arrested.
Right, so they counted only the extradition.
Yeah, at that time. Anyway, it took time.
Because they can't admit to the bogus charges.
No.
That was although that was a
The
setup.
Americans weren't getting me held by the Indians. If I'm an American guy, American attorney, I want this guy, and you know you've made this guy stay as a prisoner in India for 5 years. In their mind, prison in India 5 years is equal to American prison for 40 years.
Oh my God. What indication did you have that you were stitched up and that the Indians had been taking?
Well, from the beginning of the case with this Maria Shmadova, the Deputy Inspector General of the Crime Branch asked me, are you wanted in a drug case in America? That was at the very beginning, before I was arrested. So somebody had told him something. He didn't have any papers, he didn't have any documents, but somebody had said something to him to create suspicion. Okay, and then later when I was applying for bail in the High Court, one day they were about ready to give me bail, then the Indian government comes up with, well, he's wanted for a case in America. He had some paper. And then, of course, my lawyer said, Your Honor, we're not asking bail for the American case, we're asking bail for this case in India. But they wouldn't give the bail.
So that contradicts
But the American, I did see the American, they were asking them to hold me, to not let me go.
Yes, I understand. So there was a collaboration.
Oh, there's no doubt. And one interesting thing is when I surrendered, in the end I waived the extradition, I surrendered. Okay, they didn't find me, because under extradition law, it's like if you've done murder here, and murder is a crime both in India and America. So you can be extradited for murder. But in India, there's no drug paraphernalia law, right? So we kept telling the court, look at Your Honor, there's no drugs in this case. There's nothing illegal in this. Read the documents, right? There's not one thing. There's no evidence. There's no heroin. There's no cocaine. There's no ganja. There's no meth. There's nothing with drugs. Not one thing with drugs. Ever. There's not one in the whole indictment. There's not one mention of drugs.
Because there wasn't.
There wasn't any drugs. But they charged me being the Times of India wrote a story. They said, I am the biggest mafia king in the world. I'm responsible for $8 trillion of illegal drugs. And they put my picture on the front page, half the front page of the Times of India at my daughter's wedding with Tilak. And they said I hid in the Hare Krishna movement so that I wouldn't be caught.
Crazy. Totally false.
This was a favorable thing for me in the jail, because in the jail, everybody believes what the newspaper says.
Yeah.
I kept telling them there's not one word of truth in this. I said, but they believe what's in the newspaper.
Yeah.
So the superintendent of the jail, sir, you need anything? Everyone in the jail respected me. They thought I was a mafia.
It helped your situation.
They thought I was a mafia king. Nobody bothered me. And,
far from the truth.
yeah, Krishna protected me. The other thing, one miracle happened in the jail. The first morning I woke up in that jail. You can't imagine coming in. I mean, this jail is, when you admit it to it, it's horrifying. I'm thinking, what has happened to my life? You know, one day I'm walking with the greatest saint, and now I'm going to one of the most hellish places on earth. I was in tears. What happened to my life?
Of course.
And I come out of the first night staying in the barrack. I come out, and there's this